The following program is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. For as low as $1 a month, you can get episodes of Journey of Wrestling a week early and more. You too would become cool, just like our Trash Elite, Rob and a guy from Ohio, Kitty Holbrook, DG, Drake Starstorm, Destrucity, KTL, Passion Killer 711, Thomas, Austin Jr. That's them. Those are they.
So, it's time to talk about wrestling.
It is not. It is, first of all, time to say I am Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the boy. This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and today we will eventually be talking about AEW Dynasty 2025.
But first, you want to talk crump?
What's crumpin'?
What is crumpin'?
We gotta discuss the crumperation in this nation.
Well, you seem excited. Tell the people. Tell the people what's been crumpin'.
I finished Veilguard, Dragon Age the Veilguard. Very happy about that. I really enjoyed my time with that game. I would give it 4 or 4.5 frogs out of a possible 5.
That's a very high frog count.
Yeah, it had flaws in a couple of different senses. You know, there were some cutscenes that were stupid. There were some boss battles that I seemed to skip the boss on. I killed a thing, and then the cutscene ended, and a different thing was dead. I don't know what that was about, whether they just were like, fuck it. Or, like, I glitched past something. I don't know. I genuinely do not know. And, you know, they did do some retcons or some lore changes or some new interpretations that required justification, which is not the same thing as a retcon or a lore change, kind of like how Beast became a cat at some point, but people still get really mad about that crap. I thought the gameplay was really fun. My counterpart here has not played much of it yet, so I don't know when or if we'll ever get to a podcast, but
it will be many, many moons from now. I'm playing that game very slowly because my brain it doesn't like playing that game except for when it would be inconvenient for me, and then that's all it wants to do.
Story games in general, you haven't really been playing. We have still been playing the Marvel Rivals. Very excited for the new season coming at the end of this week.
Yeah. I theorize that, honestly, Marvel Rivals is so good at providing the dopamine. My brain's just like, but like, why don't we just do Rivals? It gives the dopamine so much quicker.
Yeah, that's pretty effective. It's such a risk, though, because you might get the anti-dopamine.
Yeah, the cortisol.
Yeah. Gosh, I was really hoping that was going to eat up more time. I don't. Can't we watch Ted again?
I don't have any crumps. I've been crumping, no new crumps.
No, you've been crumpless. Yeah, I think that's about it. Actually, I started a Wizards and Whites. That is my tabletop RPG that I made from the ground up by myself with help from this guy over here. That's available in early access on Patreon. You can play, test it. Everything should be there for you to be able to do that. I think it's the $5 tier. Maybe it's a $10. Regardless. Also, if you save those PDFs, you might not get the updated versions, but it's not like I come to your house and kick your ass about it.
Yeah, no Pinkertons will arrive.
No. Good Lord, no. But I started a sort of storytelling quest on our Discord. Link also in the description. So if you guys want to come hang out and experience that, you can vote on courses of action in a select your own destiny style game. I don't know how long I'm going to run it. As long as I can, basically. I made a lot of sprites for it. It's been pretty fun. That's what else has been crumping with me. I think the cats have selected this time to yell and run, and I'm happy for them, but if you hear weird sounds,
that's the cats
yelling and running.
They're very happy with their lives, and they like to celebrate.
Yes. I recently grew them a cat tree out of catnip seeds that I planted in our study. Please don't think we're rich. We're not. It's just a room downstairs that we use to lay around in and put a bunch of cat toys in. So they're really happy with that. And that's I'm trying. I really don't want to talk about this show.
He's dragging.
Look,
like
I said
bottom of the barrel.
I said several times leading into Dynasty, "Hey guys, I don't think this looks like a very good card."
And I didn't disagree with him, but like, I like AEW and I like knowing what's going on in their storylines. And there were a couple matches I wanted to see. So even up to, I think, the Wednesday, the last Dynamite, because I don't watch Collision, the last Dynamite before the pay-per-view, I was considering just not getting it, because nothing really was like, nothing seemed super awesome, nothing seemed really like a draw for me, but also it's a podcast, and I do enjoy, like, keeping up, and I think we've gotten every pay-per-view bar like the first Forbidden Door since we started watching AEW. So
I feel like we skipped a Wrestle Dream, but maybe not.
We may have skipped a couple, but like we've gotten most of them, and so it's
momentum. It's the same reason we see Marvel movies in the theater.
Yeah, it's momentum. So I ended up getting it, and it was a mistake, I think.
Yeah, a lot of the talk going into this, and this is usually the case, so I don't fault my counterpart for that. At least the wrestling will be good.
That is the general through line with AEW pay-per-views in general. I said general twice, and I meant it twice. WWE has what is regarded as good storytelling. I'll never trust them again, so I don't believe you. But I've seen their wrestling, even up to recently. It's not as good as AEW's. Even a mediocre AEW match is better than most WWE matches.
Even a really good WWE match is scary and ends Kevin Owens' career. So, this was not... The storylines going into this weren't great, and the matches, for the most part, did not pull it off.
Yeah, look, I'm not gonna... There was one absolute all-time... 4.5 if you're not bought in. Possibly I can see arguments for a 5 frog match on this card. But I also don't watch Deep Space Nine just because Odo is awesome. If the rest of the thing is shit, it's not worth watching.
I actually started watching Deep Space Nine. It's pretty good.
Look, I had this opinion back when I was a teenager and haven't watched it since.
That's precisely why I started watching Deep Space Nine. Because, I've been going through a long series, there's very few things left, of checking things I judged as a young person.
To see
if I was just being a dumb young person or if it was legitimate opinion. And I think I was just being a dumb young person. Pilot's a little rough, but after that it gets pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that really wasn't the point of what I was saying, but thank you.
I just don't want to talk about Dynasty. God. Okay, this is, unless I'm forgetting something egregious, the worst AEW pay-per-view I've seen.
Bell to bell, yeah, I don't think that's really even disputable. This is bell to bell. Look, we've had some forgettable pay-per-views.
Yes.
But they've had generally good wrestling. Most of the matches on this card were bad.
Yeah.
They weren't good. Some of them were egregious.
Yeah. I think Grand Slam Australia, which was not a pay-per-view, was better.
Oh, it's cheaper.
That too. So we start the pre-show with Nick Wayne and crew against AR Fox and Top Flight. Nick Wayne and crew win.
I like how you mock this spelling when it's the same spelling one of the most famous rock bands uses.
No, they have an umlaut. And an E, I believe.
Maybe, I don't know.
Anyhow, I think most of the newer team names in AEW suck. The Ops, Crew.
The Ops is fucking killer.
I hate the Ops.
That's fried gold.
It is the most generic name.
I love it.
Anyhow, this trios match was actually pretty decent. I'm not bought into the storyline. It's been going on Collision for far too long, as I understand it. I don't watch Collision, but the action in this contest was enjoyable.
I'm glad Nick Wayne's allowed to do things.
I am too.
This is what you strap someone like him to someone like Christian for, is to give him time to develop into something cool. I'm looking forward to seeing sort of where this goes. I remember not being super into this match, but looking back on it, if I had known what was about to happen, I would have really been soaking in the good wrestling that was happening.
It was 5 incredibly talented guys in Leo Rush putting on a pretty damn good
it was a good match. One of the better matches of the night.
Yeah. Next
was the Max Caster, the greatest wrestler alive, doing his open challenge. And who should come out but Anthony Bowens, his former tag team partner.
Okay, so I suggested a version of this in the Discord, and the version I suggested was back when Bowens and Caster were splitting in the first place, Caster and Bowens would have a match. Caster would win. Bowens would go away. Caster would do an open challenge. I suggested he win them. They have gone a different route. Until Bowens came back. Bowens comes back triumphant, and the story, ends, and they do other shit from there.
You see, what you've forgotten is that you were trying to make two good, useful talents going forward. AEW just really wanted to bury Max Caster.
Well, the other problem is Bowens won that match.
Bowens won both matches.
Yeah.
And Max Caster hasn't won a match since they split. They just really wanted to bury Max Caster.
It's doing a different thing, and kind of like what they did to MVP to turn him face. I get that. And Caster is actually doing some of his best work in a long time
He
here.
is really making chicken salad out of this.
Yeah.
But, I am perhaps an old grognard, a wrestling oldman, when I say giving a guy a gimmick that loses all his matches and actually sucks at wrestling and probably shouldn't be employed here because he's a fucking clown who's not good enough to be here is not actually a great way to get somebody over.
It can work if you do it right, and I feel like they're doing it right so far. My issue is that it doesn't make sense. What was Bowens coming back for? He didn't need revenge. He already won. Why did he even leave?
He wanted to beat up Max Caster.
It was stupid. It could have so easily been not stupid. It's booking 101. Look, a lot of the problem going into this in the last few AEW shows is that it's been predictable. And I don't mean predictable in that someone who is genre savvy can see where things are going and guess who's going to win. I mean that AEW has set up a specific rhythm of what is going to happen, and that rhythm is not exciting. And that goes into everything they do, every beat they tell, beyond just standard wrestling storytelling language, if you will, and into the specific AEW style. It's like how WWE developed the trope of wrestlers losing in their hometown because Vince McMahon hates joy.
It's one of those things so we on this podcast have mentioned before that we're actually perfectly fine with predictability. Sometimes the predictable call is the right call. But you notice how that sentence starts with sometimes?
Well, and here, I agree that the predictable call would have been a better call than this, because this doesn't make much sense. It makes about as much sense as Bowen's third of a shirt.
I don't like his new gear. I like 80% of his new gear. His weird mantle that he tore off somebody's coat and he's just walking around in. The top part of a Jedi Knight's Clone Wars era armor that he's wearing is baffling. That's a baffling decision.
I also don't care for the white and red. I feel like it doesn't stand out. I would have gone for a different color than red.
I feel like they sucked a lot of the personality out of Anthony Bowens.
Yeah, I hope they recover it in whatever he does after this.
What I think they want to do is the same thing they did to Daniel Garcia.
I don't like that.
Which is take all of the fun and joy out of someone and make them serious and very important WrestleMan. Which is not actually what got them over in the first place.
Yeah. So we move on to the first botch fest of the evening. There was nothing wrong with the Max Caster Anthony Bowens match. It lasted 40 seconds. He just beat him up a lot, and then it was done. Will Ospreay is fighting Kevin Knight as part of the first round of the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament.
The quarterfinal.
Yeah, I think that's still the first round.
There may have been ones, but I don't know.
Maybe you're right.
Maybe they're all on Collision. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think you're right. I think it is the first round, but just in case.
Now, when Will Ospreay is missing half a step, he still wrestles better than most of the roster, as much as I don't like him.
75% of Will Ospreay is better than 80% of all wrestlers.
Yeah, most wrestlers, anyhow. There are notable exceptions. This was a really good contest. Otherwise, a great start to the show. And then the disappointment began. Of course, Will Ospreay won over the guy who doesn't even go here until recently.
Yeah, look. So this is spoiler for the rest of this podcast. I pitched a shutout we do predictions on the Discord. Everyone who did predictions on the Discord, with the notable exception of my friend here, all pitched to shutout.
I let hope and pessimism win. And technically my one wasn't wrong.
It was
first.
It was quantum wrong and right.
It was, yes.
But there were no surprises on this card. No, at least in terms of the match results. There was at least one surprise, and we'll get into that later.
The next match was not terrible. It was fine. The learning tree, because boring man, Borverine, what's his name? Brian Cage. I figured it out, I'm sorry. Got injured. Instead of the thing they were obviously building to where the murder machines fought the Hurt Syndicate, they had to swap in the learning tree. That is to say Big Bill and Brian Keith. So
they did the best they could with what they had.
Yeah.
They were thinking on their feet. They were, doing it live, as it were, and this worked. This was a fine match.
It was fine. The learning tree was never going to win this.
Yeah, there was a 0% likelihood. I had more chance of winning this than the learning tree did.
And unfortunately, what makes things look worse, quotation marks, it's recoverable pretty easily. Because of the storyline MVP has going on with MJF interfered in this match on behalf of the Hurt Syndicate because Big Bill was very scary.
And then that is the reason he got them the win. Because that's what they're building to with MJF. Where the people in the Hurt Syndicate do not like him, but MVP does. Because they're both guys with 3-letter acronyms for names.
Yeah. I mean, how often do you find that?
At least twice.
There you go. I don't hate the storyline. I really like the Hurt Syndicate. If I haven't made that clear before, I kind of like the learning tree. I think Chris Jericho has gone downhill since his gimmick shifted into being more of just a regular heel. But
the learning tree was better when it was fun.
Yeah.
The less fun the learning tree is, the less fun they're having, the less funny they are, the less good it is. Just in a direct linear line.
And I do need to clarify, and I mentioned this on the Discord as well. I'll try to keep this brief because we still have a lot of card to cover. And some guy wouldn't shut up about Dragon Age. I don't just like fun wrestlers. I like cool wrestlers too. I like Sting. I like Penta.
I wouldn't call the Hurt Syndicate fun wrestlers.
No, absolutely. They're awesome.
Love them.
I love them. If they were in a better match, I would be excited to have seen this.
They're dope as hell.
Hell yes. I've really been enjoying what Jon Moxley specifically, not the Death Riders in general, have been doing lately. Jon's promos have been good.
Well, Jon's promos have been what the Death Riders are doing lately. They just sort of linger behind him.
The storytelling of what happens in the matches, I'm not as hot on, but what he says and how he's behaving, especially in segments where there's like a clash, I like that a lot.
He's been doing good work.
But he's not a silly, goofy guy, even if I do like to pretend that his briefcase is full of shrimp tails that he has eaten the shrimps of.
Or prognosticate, and then one day it'll bust open and it's filled with shrimp tails, and you win forever.
I will win forever. I go on little rants in character as Jon Moxley while we're watching about his poor shrimp tails. I'm sure it's very annoying, but I am so entertained.
It's not. It's really funny.
So yeah, it's not that I just like funny wrestlers. It's just that if you build up a guy to be funny, there has to be a reason you take away all their joy.
So here's the thing, right? If you gotta dance with the girl that brung you.
Sure.
You can transition from a more comedic character to a more serious character, but it has to be a transition. There has to be a reason, like you said, there has to be some plan. Because otherwise what you're doing is you're taking the thing that got you over and you're throwing it away. And if I have a car, and the car is filled with gas, and the car's moving along, it's moving along well, we're driving down the highway, and I pull over, and I take all the gas out of the car, and I throw it into a ditch. The car's not going to keep fucking going, dog.
Yeah. And, there is a time and a place to change, I'm not saying you shouldn't. There have been plenty of wrestlers who I love that got serious, and I love that about them, even if it's briefly. Orange Cassidy's Dark Jeans period was very cool.
They pulled it off.
Yeah,
there was a plan. There was an arc. They were going for something.
But it is part of the overall story and the character's journey and growth, not just, okay, we're trying to push you now, so you guys stop dancing.
In one case, literally, they made promos about how no more joy. You have to stop having fun.
It's just stupid. Hurt Syndicate retained their titles, of course, as we said. We move on to the first round of the Women's Own Hart Cup Tournament quarterfinal match. Mercedes Moné beats the brakes off of Julia Hart.
This was a garbage fucking
It was
match.
ugly.
This was bad.
It was not good.
I have turned to like Mercedes Moné.
Agreed.
She is a fantastic heel. I basically, as soon as they just straight up gave up and made her a heel, I was on her side. She does great work as a heel. I really like Julia Hart. I think she has a decent face run in her. I really love her House of Black gimmick. I really love that she understands that don't throw away the gimmick. The gimmick is why you're over. Don't throw away the gimmick. Don't start showing up in a weird, dumb-looking camo coat and jobbing all the time. So she kept the gimmick and changed one word and whistled along with her day. Oh, great stuff. Here's the problem. They stank up the joint.
Julia Hart has not been the same since she's come back. Her injury, it's unfortunate. It happens. She has lost a pretty big step. She's about the quality she was when her gimmick was cheerleader, and that's not good. She grew so much in that amount of time.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's just she's not being utilized to best advantage, if she's still maybe injured, if she's got trouble, if she's having trouble getting back in the swing of things. I can't explain it. But Mercedes wasn't doing great that night either.
No. Not only was Julia not wrestling well, they had like zero cohesion. And it's not just they didn't do this move quite right, or they had to do it a little less interestingly for safety, which is a thing in the modern era. And you know what? I'd rather have wrestlers go into a pile driver that looks more like the guy hurt his own back than concuss them.
Yeah, I always choose weird pile driver that shows light over dead guy.
Yeah.
I feel like if you choose the other option, maybe you don't want to watch pro wrestling.
The argument
maybe
there,
you want to watch like snuff films.
The argument there is don't do the move at all, and I kind of see what you're saying there, but I can't talk to the wrestlers and give them this advice. I'm not on X. But there's also just blown calls. People obviously, pointedly getting into position. Just not good, not clean work, not the level of work I've come to expect from AEW. The next match, as the one I guessed wrong on, I thought maybe they might be doing something interesting. Rated FTR, which is Cope and FTR. We're going for the Trios Championships. Yes, those still exist, and they are around the waists of the Death Riders, that is to say Claudio, Pac, and Uter.
This was fine.
It was a fine match that lost a full frog rating for me on the Aftermath, which was stupid.
I don't agree. I don't think it was stupid. I think it's pretty much exactly what they foreshadowed, and it's obviously the next step for, like, what they're building, what they're probably building to in the future.
Sure, there's a specific kind of heel turn that AEW does. It's the shock heel turn. And it's even a specific variety of that, but they fucked this up with Jack Perry as well. It feels disingenuous and is usually inexplicable and not a surprise. Like, okay, a surprise is I come home on approximately October 1st, and you guys have arranged for all of my friend to be at the house and threw me a party. Inexplicable is I come home July 7th, and you guys have arranged for all of my friend to be there, and you throw me a party. Why?
Sometimes party's fun.
I mean, I guess that's valid, but why?
So what happened was, FTR loses, specifically FTR, specifically Dax, who has been fucking up, doing a very heartfelt, genuine apology, and then immediately fucking up again for a couple weeks now. And he loses, and in contrast to Dax, who was a real bitch about Cope losing the title match, Cope is like, nah, it's cool. We're good. You know, he offers him the hand up, they raise each other's arms, and then Dax attacks him. As it was obviously going to happen, they've been foreshadowing this for like a month. That, I feel, it cannot be argued as inexplicable.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's all fine.
I imagine what you're taking issue with is Cash then siding with Dax.
Yeah.
Which also I cannot agree is inexplicable. It is the most explicable possible. The opposite would be more inexplicable.
Well, look, it seemed improbable that they would split this team up.
This is the team that like were willing to dress like morons just so they could keep doing tag team wrestling together.
And at no point did I think what we were going to get was this team splitting up. In fact, I suggested that they win this match because I thought we were going to get this team is the champs and there is tension. And there would be tension and difficulty throughout their reign. And then at the end of their reign, one way or the other,
they both turn on Cope.
They both turn on Cope, or they find a way to come together and be happy again. Whatever it was. We didn't do that part for whatever reason. I guess we still don't want to book the trios titles.
Well, no, it's because they want the Death Riders to continue to be champions for reasons that will become clear later in the show.
And I just don't feel like any part of Cash's storytelling that I have seen up to this point did anything to foreshadow this turn for him.
Well, no, it didn't. I don't think it was foreshadowed. I think that is surprising, but I don't think it's inexplicable. Because what happened there, I feel this is, and they might, we haven't seen Dynamite yet. We're recording this before then. This might not be the case. But in my estimation of what they were portraying on screen at that time was Cash being completely blindsided by this turn, not wanting to do it, and then just locking in when you're ride or die, when your fucking brother says it's time to clip a guy, you clip him. You commit.
I get that. I just don't, I don't know. Maybe I don't relate to it enough to...
No time for half measures. This is your fucking rotten soldier. This is your number one. So if he says it's go time, it's fucking go time. No questions. You can handle your own business personally later.
I feel that, and as much as you are my dearest friend, if you start, like, fighting my dad or something, or, the clerk at the store, I'm not going to be like, I guess this is what we're doing.
And this might be a differentiation in who we are as people.
Sure.
Because if you start fighting the guy at the store, there is an even odds chance I just start fighting the guy at the store also.
No one man should have all that power. I appreciate that from you. Please stop, assess the situation. Am I foaming at the mouth? It's impossible, highly unlikely, for possums to get rabies, but maybe consider. Anyway, we move on to Timeless Toni Storm doing a fun Rocky impersonation against Charlotte Flair.
Don't be mean to Megan Bain.
Yeah, you know what?
She's done nothing to deserve the Charlotte Flair comparison.
I've never seen her drop a ball that bad while cutting a promo, even if the promo wasn't good. I don't like Megan Bain. I don't like her at all.
I feel strongly that they have given us no reason to like Megan Bain.
And I don't mean that, ooh, she's a baddie. I mean, I don't... this is not good. This cookie you've given me, it tastes like salt and nothing else. I think this might be Play-Doh.
So, as a study in contrast, Megan Bain is easily comparable, I feel, to Jade Cargill. They're both big, they're both powerful, they're both both in kayfabe and out of kayfabe, like the big man on campus, as it were, the powerhouse in the division. Jade Cargill, to utilize the kids' term, has aura. She has charisma.
Yes.
She has the ability to sell that she believes this about herself and is fucking walking the walk. Megan Bain has a big funny hat and none of the shit I just mentioned before that.
And she's not great in the ring. And Toni, as much as I love her, is not fabulous in the ring.
You take that back. It's true, but take it back anyway.
I will do no... What happened to the ride or die from 2 minutes ago? I have hated this build. I don't want to see Megan Bayne. And there's another reason beyond me not liking Megan Bayne that I hate this build. AEW keeps fucking doing this. They get a new lady, the new girl in the high school with the bongala rahonga donkados that are even bigger than the girl that already goes there. They clash. It's a meme. Look it up. And that woman is gone then. Like your Diana's Purrazzo or your Taya's Valkyrie.
They do this a lot because, like, the other option is big new person shows up with a lot of hype and then they go fucking wrestle nobody for a while. Or big cool person shows up with a lot of hype and then they win and then you've just hot-shotted your title onto doesn't-even-go-here.com.
I feel like you do indeed wrestle somebody else. And if the problem is that there are too many titles, I can think of a few you could drop because they don't matter. But
well, that's not a problem in the women's division. There are only two. The problem in the women's division is that no one's allowed to feud for anything but a title.
And that's what I'm saying. If there's not enough space on the show because you're trying to showcase all the titles, let's drop some titles. But make space on the show to start non-title feuds in the women's division because you can't keep fucking doing this.
I think manifestly they can.
Okay. Well, it's not a great idea to keep doing this.
I don't think so.
So, yeah, I thought they were moving away from this with the Mariah May thing. It was so good. You know what I mean? But here we are. And we're doing it again. And who's coming in next week? Who's the big, cool woman coming in next month to, until we get to All In? And it's whoever.
Whatever, man. Take notes from Athena. Toni Storm forever champ.
Yeah, I guess. I have no issue with Toni Storm being champion. I'm not saying Megan Bayne should have won this. I'm saying this shouldn't have been the angle. I think Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford should have been, if you're pushing them, I don't like her, Megan. Penelope's fine. If you're pushing her, make her look dominant in a place where she's not going to lose in 6 weeks.
Yeah, AEW has a really... Because AEW almost never does feuds that aren't related to some kind of title.
Yes, that is also true.
So, like, it's just... They have a hard time with this.
Yep. I'm not going to say that we do better when we're booking, Journey of Wrestling.
When I'm booking Journey of Wrestling, I manifestly avoid trying to book any feud that isn't related to a title.
Yeah, but, like, that's different because it's a video game with, like, stats. But anyhow.
It's not a video game.
Speaking of predictable and stupid, Mark Briscoe's in a tournament. He was in a match against Kyle Fletcher. Guess which one of these people won?
Yeah, Mark Briscoe, man, they just really... He was Ring of Honor champion for a while. They really don't give a shit about him.
This might be what he wants to do, to their credit.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, he's an older gentleman.
Yeah, he's older for a wrestler. I can see him wanting to give back. He's a great pair of hands. This match was fine. It might have been good if I was given any inkling of an idea that I should care.
I agree. I like Kyle Fletcher a lot. I think he's doing great stuff right now.
I would be more interested in Kyle Fletcher if they stopped trying to make him and Ospreay kiss. You don't need to invent with every feud the new Randy Orton versus John Cena. Let Hologram and Beast Mortis fight different fucking people now and then.
This has just been this is an AEW problem since we started watching.
I agree.
They don't know how to end a feud.
No.
They don't know how to end a feud. They never let it go. Ever. Like, I want to be clear. Nigel McGuinness was feuding with Bryan Danielson in 2024. The feud will never end.
I don't mind that as much if it's spaced out. When's the next time we're going to get Hangman versus Swerve in a match? Who could say? Maybe it's going to be a really good one. Maybe they might be on the same side of the ring. But I think they paced that out pretty well. They told us we're doing a break. These matches are very exhausting emotionally, so let's take some time. Awesome. That's fine. I'm fine with stuff like Hangman Swerve. I'm fine with stuff, to a lesser extent, like Kenny Don Callis. I think maybe back off a little bit, and they are. But, man, it seems like it looks like both guys have earned a clean break. The credits are playing, and suddenly they're torn down, and Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay have to fight again.
But this time because they were both in a tournament. The finals of this tournament...
And there was only one tournament.
Yeah, and there was only one tournament. The finals, unless they are on the same bracket, and I don't believe they are, the finals of this tournament will be Fletcher-Ospreay. I'm calling that now. Ospreay's winning it, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Ospreay's going to beat Mox, and that's going to be everybody except for me's heroic.
I will
parade.
celebrate very much. Anyway, back to the bad show we're watching.
Yeah. So this one made me nervous. Chris Jericho, Ring of Honor champion, against Bandito, mask wearer. Each man's object is on the line. I have been okay with this storyline because it let me see gravity. I like Lucha Libre, so that this is Lucha Libre adjacent makes me less unhappy. But as I said before, Chris Jericho's darker turn has been kind of frustrating for me. And I got news that Bandito's people were involved heavily in how this match was going to shake out.
Like legally.
Legally. So I smelled Jericho's shenanigans even more than I would if Jericho had just been in the match, which he is. You want to give the brief on what happened?
Bad shit. The match was...
It's been a good show. Play us off, Static.
The match was mid. I'm gonna be honest, it didn't thrill me. Bandito held a man up for a long time. Way longer than it makes any sense for that man to voluntarily be there.
There were a couple of rough spots, too.
I love stalling suplexes, but there is a line, guys. But beyond that, that was the only memorable thing. Everything else was sound and fury signifying nothing. And then the match ended. Chris Jericho won by shenanigans. He gets to be Ring of Honor World Champion still, and he's going to take Bandito's mask. He cheated. He hit them with the bat after a distraction because he's Chris Jericho. Of course he did. And then, unrelated fucking civilians, Bandito's mom and I think sister, hop the railing and begin yelling at, crucially, not the referee of the match, different referee Aubrey Edwards, who goes and finds a bat that was there, that Chris Jericho had taken time to re-hide, and, pulls it out of its hiding spot. A bat which she has literally no proof that Chris Jericho used at all, except the word of these, again, unrelated civilians, who are ostensibly, in the canon of AEW, just audience members.
Who are on Bandito's side as well. Who
are clearly biased. And she convinces referee of the match, I don't remember, to restart the match. Now, see, my problem with this is that it is fundamentally corrosive in a very toxic way to the fiction of pro wrestling.
And it's just an unnecessary... Everything
just
about this
have him win!
Yeah.
Just have him win! Because Bandito then wins, and he's the Ring of Honor Championship now, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a fuck about that. Just have him win. If he's gonna win, just have him win. You know how you make Roman look strong? You just have him win, dog! It's not hard! The reason this is a problem is because there is no instant replay in pro wrestling. The announcers literally said exactly that while this was happening. Don't point that out, by the way, guys. When you're doing something that breaks the rules of your own setting, don't point it out. That's stupid.
It wasn't as bad as the match where FTR beat the Guns for the tag titles, where they took a long time to claim that the way the match ends is X way, and the person who does that wins, and then the Guns did that and lost.
Yeah, but there's no instant replay in pro wrestling. The reason heels can get away with what they do is that if they get it past the ref that's there, they get it past the ref that's there. After the fact, you can get a rematch off that. It can be decided that, hey, that wasn't fair, so you're gonna have another match. The face authority figure can come in and resolve things. Hell, the face authority figure can come in and restart the match themselves. If there's a general manager or what have you, that's also fine. That's also established. But in the history of pro wrestling, the number of fans who have yelled at a ref, hey, he was cheating, look, he was cheating, there's the chair he was using, just regular fans in the audience, where that's worked is 0%. 0 times has that happened.
Your indie show mileage may vary.
That's true. You know what? Honestly, if it was an actual fan, if it was actually a little kid who was just really worked up.
I feel like I've seen this happen before.
And really, really worked up, and Jericho had taken time to bully this kid and really get him worked up. And then at the end, he's yelling, and then the ref listens to that real kid. I think this is actually funny. But
I think this angle can work. They just didn't do the thing where it worked. It was lazy.
They could have also made it work by just establishing at the beginning that this is a Ring of Honor title match. This is being contested under stricter rules, stricter rules enforcement. And then once you can just say that. You can just keep it vague.
Yeah.
Just say that, and then that gives you the fig leaf you need to make this make sense. We had worse matches on this card. This is the card that pissed me off. This is the match that pissed me off the most.
Yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. I don't have much to say about the next one either. Daniel Garcia, second most boring man in AEW, defended his TNT championship that he never should have won against Adam Cole. They've had a storyline going on Collision. It's been fine.
Chugs wins. Good for Chugs. This match was...
It was fine.
Okay.
It was a fine contest. They really didn't mess up much.
Nope. Good job. Hopefully, Chugs, please, for the love of God, do something with this title.
And your gimmick.
Daniel Garcia has wasted it.
Yeah.
You took it off of Jack Perry having one of the best runs with that title I've ever seen, possibly the best run with that title I've ever seen, and you gave it to fucking the guy who doesn't even dance anymore. You gave it to the guy who got reverse footloosed.
We move into match of the night, match of the month. This is Kenny Omega defending his international championship against Ricochet and newcomer Speedball Mike Bailey. This was 31 minutes of hot sauce.
This was clean. This was... I have every, repeated... hacky phrase I use for this is a really good thing that you've heard me use and run into the ground on this podcast. I want you to take them all, line them up end to end, and just play them in a little an audio file. Not you. You don't have to edit the podcast.
I will not be doing that.
This was great. Fucking 5 stars.
I don't think it was quite that good because I wasn't bought in because they didn't storytell that far. But as much of a crap mood as I was in, all three of these men immediately brought me out of it by being incredibly charismatic in his heel gimmick, being one of the best wrestlers to ever live, and being in a frog costume. And that's all I needed. We all lived through this. I recommend you watch it. Great spots, cool spots.
Speedball Mike Bailey looks like a goofy dumbass. And he won me over so much that I have retired all the goofy dumbass nicknames I had for him out of respect for the sheer level of fucking ass he beats in between the ropes.
It was so cool.
That
Such
was
a cool
excellent
match.
work.
And then we come to the main event, which was a pretty tame overall hardcore match for the AEW World Championship. Jon Moxley against Swerve Strickland. I don't remember why Swerve has a title shot. That should tell you something. Oh, because he beat Ricochet.
Yep.
And I mean, okay, the highlight of this match was they were both on a ladder that they had, and I mean no criticism of this, set up specifically for doing a big dumb high spot. And Swerve stood on Jon Moxley's dick and rode it all the way down to the ground. Okay, not actually. He did, however, kick him in the dick with both feet when they landed.
He did the swerve stomp, and because of how physics works, he ended up swerve stomping Jon Moxley right in the penis. That should have been the end of the match. That's the end of the match if I'm in the match. Well, I'm done now.
Yeah. Otherwise, it wasn't bad. It was just very bog standard for a Mox match.
Yeah, I would say it was a standard operating Moxley match.
I will let you take over.
Well, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. They've been building stuff with him and Hangman starting to maybe get over their beef, and that's been neat.
Yeah, it's been very interesting.
There's some shenanigans, some bloodline shenanigans during the match when there's interference and Hanger comes out and he hits Moxley with the dead eye. Crucially, because Moxley tried to attack him. He was deciding who to kill before that. And then the Death Riders come out and kill him. And then the Ops come out and kill them. And everyone leaves. And it's back to just Swerve and Swerve and Mox. And it looks like Swerve's going to win. Swerve has it. He has it locked in. Moxley is drunk and leery and doesn't really know where he is. Swerve's about to stomp him, or lights go out. or maybe did stomp him. I don't remember. Lights go out. Lights come back up. The fucking Young Bucks are there. They hit Swerve with the BTE trigger, or EVP trigger now, I guess. And then Mox wins. Dumb. Fucking dumb.
This one does make sense. I think there's avenues for it to act. However, this is one of those times where the obvious call, cough, cough, Roman Reigns just did this last year, and cough, cough, is not the right one.
It's not inexplicable. I understand it. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Deeply stupid. Side note, Swerve Strickland came out dressed as Static Shock, or Static as he's known now, but I was a kid when I was a kid, and I'm going to call him what I'm going to call him. You leave me alone. I popped out of my seat IRL, and I immediately swapped to just wanting him to win. I was up in the air. I just wanted him to win. That was so dope that I just wanted him to win now.
We had a conversation just a few days ago about Will Ospreay. No, in real life we had a conversation. And you had mentioned how cool it was when he had his Assassin's Creed entrance. And I was like, man, I wish I was into something enough that somebody could cosplay an entrance for me. And it was really nice to see that once again, I get nothing and you get everything you want.